These are devotions for people at a social distance. How do you deal with dissent? How do you deal with protest? It's become obviously a very, very important question. And obviously, nobody likes to be the object of protest. Nobody likes to have to deal with demonstrations, which may include, restricting people's movements and may include danger to people's property, even in the case where they are entirely peaceful. So what do you do with dissent? What do you do with protest? Really, really important question. The temptation, the desire, of course, is to just shut it down. And I was thinking about that as I read my devotion this morning from Numbers 11, starting at verse 26. 2 men remained in the camp, one named Eldad and the other named Medad, and the Spirit rested on them. They were among those registered, but they had not gone out to the tent, and so they prophesied in the camp. So Eldad and Medad are prophesying, which means in the Bible, it means proclaiming the word of the Lord, which may often be inconvenient, as we see throughout biblical history, to those who have authority and power. So whatever Eldad and Medad are saying, it seems dangerous. It seems like a kind of protest against the authority of Moses. So understandably, a young man, it says in verse 27, runs and tells Moses, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. This is dissent. This is protest. And Joshua, son of Nun, the assistant of Moses, one of his chosen men, said, My Lord Moses, stop them. The temptation is to shut it down, to make sure that nobody is able to listen to that dissent, that protest. I did a podcast, which I've released today, retelling the story of Eldad and Medad, and I would suggest you go and listen to that, retelling the Bible, to maybe get a bit of a different perspective on this story. But the temptation, I think, is clear. Shut them down. Shut them down at all costs. It is a foolish reaction, because if you simply squelch the protest, if you simply shut it down, it has nowhere to go, and it will find its own insidious and probably worse way to get out. Moses understands that. Moses said to him, Are you jealous for my sake? Would that all the Lord's people were prophets, and the Lord would put his Spirit on them. Moses understands. You can't silence those other voices. You need to give them space. You need to allow them to be heard. And yes, that is inconvenient, and it may even be dangerous, and it will certainly disrupt. I suspect Eldad and Medad disrupted a whole lot. But there comes a time when you need to listen. Those are my thoughts on this day, the 3rd day of June, 2020. Lord God, it is hard to deal with dissent and protest, and to be afraid of the disruption that does cause and will cause. But let us understand that simply shutting it down at all costs is not the solution. Give us hearts to listen and to respond. Amen. Amen. I pray we do.